This is a 2009 Triumph Speed Triple. I really like the bike, really like the way the exhaust looks, but you know, I wanted to get a little bit more noise, and then when I went out and looked to see what exhaust costs, you can spend a lot of money on exhaust. So I thought if I just wanted a little bit more noise, I would modify this exhaust. So I want to give you that process, but before we do, this is what the bike sounds like when it's running. Stop. One of the things I failed to do was to take pictures of every little step I took when I tore the exhaust apart. So I thought what I would do is I'd just give you a picture. As you can see, as the exhaust enters into the muffler, it basically hits a solid wall, and then those exhaust fumes come back through a perforated wall, and then they go through a long tube, and then they come and hit the very back of the exhaust. They bounce off that, and then they come back and hit off the solid plate again, and then they go out. So this causes a lot more back pressure, it causes a lot more heat, and it really kind of cuts your sound down too, because of all the different things that it has to do to actually get out of the exhaust. Here's all the basic tools you're going to need. Starting at the top, I have a big pry bar. If you go to the left, you see drill bits, you see punches, you see chisels, you see pliers, hammer, rubber mallet, you see a sawzall, you see a rivet gun. You need to make sure that you have FMF or some type of four-stroke packing, and then you need the perforated tube, and of course flashlight to look in and see things as you get further down the tube. Both the FMF packing and the perforated tubing I got from eBay and had it delivered right to my home, and then I had stainless steel rivets that I ordered from eBay also. The first thing you're going to want to do is just drill the rivets out of the exhaust. Now, it's much easier just to leave the exhaust on the bike. You will have to turn it at certain times, which means you'll have to take the bolt out and turn it and drill the rivets and loosen the clamp on the exhaust and drill rivets that you can't get to. But when it comes to actually cutting the exhaust, it is so much easier just to leave it right on there. It's like a huge, beautiful clamp that just keeps the exhaust in one place for you. So leave it right on there, drill all the holes out, and get ready to go to the next step. The next thing you're going to want to do is put a piece of tape, whether it's electrical tape or blue tape like I have here, and just give yourself a line. This is so that when you use your Sawzall, you know exactly where to keep your line, and you know that you're not making a real crooked cut. So this kind of just gives you that line to follow all the way along. Once you have it, you just want to take your Sawzall and you just want to cut that whole end cap off. You have to do that. You have to go all the way from top to bottom, all the way through the whole thing, and cut that whole pipe off. So don't worry about just trying to go around the pipe. Just go right through it and all the way through it. Now that you cut the end cap off, the next thing you want to do is you'll see, as in step one, the exhaust will look similar to this at the end that's cut off. And so what I did is I started to drill holes around the tubing. The tubing really added a lot of strength to that metal plate that's in there. So if you can get rid of that strength, then it really makes getting rid of the plates and getting rid of the tubing much easier. So I drilled holes around the tubing, and then I took a chisel or a punch and just continued to break it loose. And then I went on to step three, and you'll see that all these plates are held on. They're just tacked on with welds. And so if you can take your chisel or your punch and you can just knock them loose, then it lets that whole plate just kind of move around and you can just pull it out. And then what happens is you can take your long pry bar or a crowbar or whatever you might have, and you can start to bend that tubing up and down. And once that tubing gets bent up and down several times, it'll just break right off. The little weld tacks will just let go, and then you can literally just kind of start pulling and jerking the tubing out. But you have to get that tube loose to be able to do that. Here's all the parts you should have once you have everything cut out of the exhaust. You should have the end cap, you should have 3 tubes, you should have a couple plates, and you should see all those parts here. So Once you have all those gutted out, you can get ready to start packing the exhaust again. Okay, now that you have your exhaust totally cleared out, you'll see that you can take your perforated tubing, you can measure it. What I usually do is I just stick the perforated tubing in, and then I usually measure about 3/4 inches past where the exhaust is. The reason why you want to go past it is because you're going to put your end cap on, and of course the end cap isn't going to go flush straight back. It's going to be beveled out a little bit, so you want to have that tube actually go out about 3/4 of an inch. So do that, cut it out about 3/4 of an inch past your exhaust, and then what you want to do is you want to take your FMF packing or your 4-stroke packing, and you just want to cut it about the same length as the pipe is. And so you take it out and you'll see that it's actually a little longer than what you need. You may have to cut, 2 or 3 inches off your packing. And so you cut 2 or 3 inches off, and then what you do is you roll. You roll around the perforated tubing just once, and then you take the other side and you roll it up like a newspaper, and then that's going to fill up the whole room. That's what that bottom yellow is. It's just filled up with FMF packing, and it keeps your pipe up at a certain level. And then of course your packing does wrap around the pipe once, and once you put it in, it'll fit real nice. Mine fit in real clean, went in there real nice and solid. And then I literally could just leave the pipe right in there. And you could see a straight shot right through it. Once I had the packing installed, all I had to do was put the end cap on. Now that seems pretty easy, but the end cap goes on pretty tight. So I had to take some pliers, and where it was really tight, I had to just kind of bend the corner in a little bit. Now, once the cap is on, you can just take the rubber mallet and just tap it on. And you can tap that end cap on really hard. I didn't have any problems. I didn't ding up the end cap at all. It's really rigid. It's really tough. And just make sure that that end cap is on solid. And once it's on solid, then you just take your drill out, whatever size rivet you have. Then you take it and just get the proper drill bit, rivet the holes or drill the holes, use your rivet gun, put the rivets on there, and you're done. It's great. And this is what the bike signs are after that. Hopefully this video helps anybody who's just looking for that alternative instead of putting a lot of money into an exhaust. This gives you the sound, still gives you the stock look, and it really just gets the job done. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me down below, and I'll do my best to answer them.